What's up, YouTube? Elliot coming at you. This is Rideshare Daily, and I want to talk real quick about your city, your market. So drivers ask me all the time, am I going to be able to make that much money in my city? Am I going to be able to do this in my city? Am I going to be able to do that here where I live? And one of the most popular questions that I get is, what city are you in? What state are you in? Where do you drive? My answer to that is it's irrelevant where I drive. It doesn't matter where I drive. Because you're asking that question because you have other questions, right? Most of the time, those other questions, they're about you, not me. So let's talk about your market, your city, in relationship to driving for Uber, driving for Lyft, driving for any other rideshare company out there. So Rideshare Daily is all about maximizing your efforts, your earnings, your time in order to successfully accomplish what it is that you're trying to accomplish through rideshare. And for the most part, most people get into this to earn money. It's for revenue, it's for profits, it's for income, it's to generate cash. And so it's a great way to do it by becoming a rideshare driver, but take these things into consideration, okay? Every single city is different. Every single driver is different. Every vehicle is different. And your day is not going to be just like my day. I'm going to start my day a certain way. You're going to start your day a different way. I'm going to go to certain places. You're going to go to different places. I'm going to be somewhere at a certain time. You're going to be somewhere else at a different time. Like, nobody's the same. So just keep that in mind. I vlog and show what I do, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be exactly the same for you. And that doesn't mean that I'm saying it's going to be the same for you. I have said from the beginning of 2017 when I started doing these videos that it's different for everybody. However, I'm showing you what I'm doing to show you what's practical, to show you what's reasonable, to show you what's possible. Because if it's possible for me to do it, it's probably possible for you to do it. But keep this in mind. When I started driving for rideshare, I didn't know anybody else that was driving for rideshare. I was watching videos just like you, right? So I had to decide for myself what was possible. So instead of listening to naysayers or people who tell you that you can't do this, you can't do that, there's no real money in rideshare, you can't make good money, what about taxes, what about expenses, what about gas, what about wear and tear on your vehicle, etc. Don't listen to those people. Go out and test it and see what's possible for you. Have the mentality, instead of all the reasons why you can't do it, why it won't work, why you won't succeed, have the mentality of, what can I do? What can I do? I want to go and see what I can do. And every day that you go out to drive, go out with the attitude and the mindset, like, I'm going to go out to do the most that I can do. So if you have the right attitude, you have the right mindset, when you approach rideshare, you have a good opportunity to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish with this. If you have a trash mindset that you got from letting other people pour garbage into your head, then your chances of success in this are slim to none. So let's talk about the market. In my market, San Antonio is a big convention city. So every week we have somewhere between 5,000 and 30,000 people in town for conferences, conventions, business seminars, business trainings, etc. On top of that, it's a big military town. So we have 4 different bases here in San Antonio. On top of that, it's a big college town. We have 3 major universities, and I would say another 2 or 3 other smaller universities, plus we have the local community college campuses all over town. So it's a big college city. And then also it's a big tourist town, so we have great weather usually year-round compared to most places in the US. People come here to see the Alamo. They come here to enjoy the Riverwalk. They come here to enjoy the weather, to get away from the cold, etc. And then on top of that, we have about 1.5 million people that live in the city, about 2.5 that live in the metro, so in and around San Antonio. And it is the 7th largest city in the U.S., the 3rd largest in Texas. I know that about my city, and I knew some of that, I would say the majority of that, before I started driving rideshare. Still, all of that is irrelevant until you get in your vehicle and you go drive. When you get in your vehicle and you go drive, you figure out over time, by putting in the trips, by getting behind the wheel and picking up passengers and picking up requests, you learn over time from experience how your city moves. In other words, where people are, when people are there, what are your hot spots, like what are the destinations and locations that people are going to, what are the places where your requests come in most frequently, you know, where the money is. Because ultimately, you're asking yourself, where is my money? Who is going to give me my money today? And where are they at? Where are they going to be requesting trips? And where are they going to be going to? So those things should be going through your mind. It's not going to be the same in your city if you don't live in my city. It's going to be different in your city. In my city, the airport is basically, you know, 2 to 20 minutes from everything. In order to like have a long trip from our airport, you have to really be outside the city in order to even get like a 30-minute or 40-minute trip. You got to be outside of San Antonio, because our airport's right in the middle, right? Whereas most big cities, the airport is on the outskirts somewhere. So your airport trips, you probably make more money than I make on an airport trip most of the time, because maybe it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour from town, right? So for you, airports might be really, really good. For me, airports they're okay. You know, I do them a lot, but it's not really big money. Conventions, conferences, sports events, concerts, again, the military bases, again, the different events, the ebbs and the flows, the movement in my city is what I've learned from experience, and that's what you got to learn in your city. You got to learn, you know, whether or not it's worth it for you to go to the arena after a concert, or to go to the Coliseum after a concert, or to go to the Forum or the venue after a concert, or the theater, or the you know, convention center or whatever after an event. You have to learn that, but the only way you can learn that is from experience. Same thing if you have military bases, or you have university campuses or colleges. You have to learn whether or not it's worth it for you to drive students, you know, from their campus to where they're going, or whether you just want to drive them to their campus. So those are things that you can only learn by getting behind the wheel and putting in the reps, putting in the trips to figure it out. For me, I drive lots of students to UTSA, University of Texas at San Antonio, but I don't do a lot of picking up at UTSA, because students literally will request to go from this dorm room in this building to a dorm room in the next building next door. Seriously, like, I'm not talking about a mile, I'm not talking about a quarter mile, I'm not talking about a tenth of a mile. I'm talking about the building next door to this building. Someone will actually request a Lyft ride for that. Sorry. That's not something that I want to do. I don't want to be in that business. So I'll go to the campus, drop off the student, and then turn my app off and leave, right? Because I don't want those requests. So you have to be strategic, but you only know how to do that, or know what to do and where to do it and when to do it, by getting out there and getting the reps, getting the repetitions, getting the trips done. So, you know, I didn't know that it wouldn't be a great thing for me to take somebody to the rodeo on the opening night of the rodeo last year, until it took us an hour and a half to do a 15-minute trip, and I made 13 bucks. That's how I learned, right? But doing trips from the rodeo to people's houses is a whole lot better, because you don't have the same kind of congestion and traffic and stuff like that. So just like most drivers, when I first started, my first couple weeks, I would go to the cell phone lot or the designated rideshare waiting zone, and I waited a few times for a few days. 45th in line, or 30th in line, or 20th in the queue, right? I learned real quick. It took me probably about 4 or 5 days to figure out I'm not going to make good money that way. That's not what I want to do. Stop doing that. I still do I do more airport runs now, but most of my airport runs are going to the airport, not from the airport. Now, I still do airport pickups. I just don't do them when there's more than 10 cars in the queue. I wait until it's like 6 cars in the queue, then I go to the airport for pickups. So those are the kind of things that you have to learn about your city, your market. I know, because I used to live in New Orleans. An airport trip in New Orleans is a whole lot better than an airport trip in San Antonio. Why? Because the airport's way out in Kenner. In New Orleans, it's like 45 minutes from downtown. That's a good little trip. Whereas here, it's 15 minutes from downtown. So it's not as good. Same thing, you know, in New York City. You could pick up at Newark in Jersey, for instance. If you're approved to drive in Jersey, you could pick up at Newark, and your drop-off might be like in Upper Long Island. That's a good trip. Or you could pick up at JFK, and your drop-off might be in Jersey City or Hoboken. Or you could be in Boston, and your pickup from Logan Airport might be way down in, or way over in Framingham. That's a good trip. So you have to learn your city. You have to learn the ebbs and flows of people, the comings and goings of people, where people are, where the nightlife is, if you're driving in the evenings or you're driving on the weekends at night, where people are in the morning, where people are going in the morning. You have to learn what works for you in your city and then be strategic. One of the, I would say probably the #1 mistake of most drivers out there that criticize me and the things that I say on my videos is that they're not strategic thinkers. They just kind of just go with the flow. Maybe they're driving around with their app on all the time and picking up anybody and everybody from everywhere, hoping that they're going to make good money. I don't do that. You can do that if you want, and maybe that works in your city. It could work in your city. In my city, that's not the best strategy. So I know where people are going for nightlife. I know where people are originating, where their trips are originating, and where their destination is for nightlife. I know where they're at and need to go home for nightlife. So same thing for shopping. Same thing for events. Same thing for concerts. Same thing, you know, when conventioners in town, I know the bars that they're going to drink at, because it's the same week in and week out. All these out-of-towners are in town. I know they're going to this place. I know they're going to that place, because those are the hot spots. Those are the destination places, right? Same thing with my pickups. Like, I'm not going to get a lot of select or luxury or black rides in the hood. I'm going to get those in more affluent neighborhoods. That's just how it works. So in your city, in your town, learn what works for you. But don't tell me what it's not going to work in your town, and you haven't put in 500 trips or you haven't put in 1,000 trips, because the reality is you don't know. See, I know because I've put in the trips. I've done over 3,600 trips in my city, in and around my city. So I know my market really well, but I've been getting to know my market over time better and better and better and better and better, which means I'm constantly refining and retuning and readjusting my strategy, which is why I'm making more and more money in shorter periods of time. Because the things that don't work real well, I tend not to repeat those things. The things that work really well, I tend to do those things over and over and over again. So I think it's ridiculous when people say that riders don't tip. If they don't tip you, it's because you're not providing them with a great experience. I think it's ridiculous when people say that you only get short trips. Well, if you only get short trips, it's because you're picking up in a certain area and you're not being strategic. You're not turning your app off and going somewhere else to get longer trips. Plain and simple. Because you're just thinking all the requests are in this area. You don't know that if you haven't tested the other areas. I don't know. I could go on and on and on about it. But the point is that you have to be strategic in getting to know your city, getting to know the riders, the passengers, and the patterns of behavior in your city. Every day is not going to be the same. Every day is going to vary. It's going to have its own unique kind of feel to it. But every city has patterns of behavior. Every city has areas that just tend to be like this or tend to be like that, right? So when you learn that, then you as a driver make a decision when to have your app on, when to have your app off, when to pick up, when not to pick up. You know, and be selective, but at the same time be available, because even your shortest trips sometimes lead you to your longest trips. You know, I think drivers who don't do short trips, who try to like be super selective and only drive during prime or only drive during surge or whatever, like I call them surge chasers, they're not smart. Because I'll take somebody from this block to 4 blocks down to their hotel room or whatever. I'll take that trip, and then a lot of times I get to that hotel, I got another passenger waiting for me that's going 45 or 35 minutes away. So you don't know what's going to happen until you do it. But when you have the experience of doing it, you figure stuff out. So be strategic, learn your area, learn your market, and don't assume in advance that you know if you haven't tested it. Because you could assume that you're not going to get a lot of requests for, you know, good trips or good fares or good tips or whatever from a certain area, and you could be totally wrong. You're just going off of what somebody else thinks or what you think, and you haven't tested it. Meanwhile, someone like me, I'm out there driving it, and I'm making a lot of money. So the other thing is, if you go with the masses, you tend to get what the masses get. I tend to be counterintuitive, meaning that if I see everybody tends to be going right, I go left. And I'm picking up the trips that they're missing. If everybody's going left, I go right. And I'm picking up the trips that they're missing. So use your brain, use common sense, be professional, have a great attitude, and go see what you can do. You're going to have some slow days, and you might have some huge, massive, awesome days. But it's not until you put in the work and do a bunch of trips, hundreds or thousands of trips, that you actually know what you're talking about. That's why I laugh a lot of times when people make crazy comments on some of these videos. I just laugh at them because I know I've put in the work. I know what I'm talking about. And I know for the most part, people that say crazy stuff, they haven't. They don't know. So learn your city, master your market. That's the mentality I have. Master my market. Go master yours. Subscribe below, like, share, comment, questions. Sign up for my free video training course. Links in the description. If you haven't become a driver, you want to test it out and see what it's like, use my codes below. Y'all have a great day. It is Wednesday. Peace.